I always thought the day I got married would feel like stepping into a photograph. Soft light, perfect smiles, the world holding its breath. Instead, it felt like walking into a movie where I was the last one to read the script. Everyone else already knew the twist. My name is Daniel. I was supposed to be married by now. Rings on hands, champagne flutes clinking, people dabbing at happy tears. We booked the ballroom at the Laurel, the one with the crystal chandeliers and the little balcony that overlooks the dance floor. The morning started like a promise kept. My mom crying when she pinned the flower to my lapel. My dad clapping me on the shoulder, whispering, "You did good, son." The groomsmen doing bad impressions to keep me from making the same face in every photo. And then Mara, my wife-to-be, sent a bridesmaid to ask if I could lend her my phone charger. The message came down the hall while I was adjusting my tie in the mirror. I remember thinking how endearing that was, that even on her big day, she would think to use my phone charger. A small tether between us. I was halfway to the bridal suite when Mara's best friend, Tessa, found me first. Her eyeliner was smudged in a way that didn't look like happy crying. "Daniel," she said, and her voice had this scrape in it, this urgency. "Can I talk to you?" I smiled automatically. "Make it quick, the ceremony." "Check the bridal suite," she blurted, "now." It landed like a dropped plate. What? Tessa bit her lip so hard, a dot of red appeared. "Please, this is going to sound insane, but you need to check the bridal suite right now. Just don't go in loud." There are moments when your body decides before your brain does. Mine jogged toward the suite, past the flowers the size of small trees, past a line of cousins already opening the bar early. My hands went cold. I told myself it was silly, that maybe Mara had passed out from nerves or was crying about the seating chart again. Tessa kept pace beside me, whispering. I tried to stop it. I told her. I told him. I told both of them. "Him?" I asked, a word that sounded like gravel in my mouth. She didn't answer. I didn't knock. I turned the handle and walked in. At first, it was just a room. White balloons hovering like moons, garment bags along a rack, the vanity lights glowing, a bouquet on the bed. And then, the shape of them, too close, too familiar. Mara's dress was unzipped, her hair pinned with the little pearls we picked together. The best man, Michael, had his hand on her waist. They were frozen in a tableau of guilt so thick you could have spread it with a butter knife. "Oh," Mara said, not even a scream, more like a gasp that tried to stuff itself back into her chest. "Michael, my friend since freshman year, the guy who helped me move apartments twice and once paid my electric bill when I was broke, straightened, hands up. Dan, it's not—" "Don't say it," I said. I didn't recognize my own voice. It was quiet, clipped, like I'd borrowed it for the occasion. "Don't say it's not what it looks like." No one moved. The air conditioner hummed like an insult. The narration took a shaky step forward, clutching the top of her dress. "Daniel, I panicked. It's nerves. You know how I spiral. I just—" "What?" I snapped. "What did you need an hour before our vows, Mara?" Her eyes were wet and enormous. You. I needed you. But you had him. Michael flinched. It was a mistake. I looked at Tessa, who had her hand over her mouth, tears running unchecked. She whispered, "I told you to stop," to Mara, then to me, firmer. "You don't deserve this." It was like a bad dream where the floor kept shifting. Everywhere I put my weight was unreliable. A distant part of my mind took inventory. The band was sound checking 2 hallways over. The photographer was probably changing lenses. My grandmother was telling a caterer waiter she needed more lemon slices. All normal. All wrong. I backed out of the room. I didn't slam the door. Somehow that felt too dramatic, too cliché, like I'd be performing grief instead of having it. Tessa followed me into the corridor. "Daniel." "How long?" I asked. And even I couldn't tell who I was asking. Maybe both of them. Maybe the walls. Mara's voice came muffled through the door. "It meant nothing." Michael said, "Please, man, let me explain." "Save it for the speech," I said, and this terrible, bitter laugh ripped out of me. I walked. I didn't run. I walked back to the men's lounge, where my suit jacket waited on a chair, and my phone sat charging, its lock screen full of polite notifications. "Your Uber is arriving. Remember to hydrate. You're about to get married." The screen brightened with a new text, an unknown number. It was a screenshot, messages between M and M, Mara and Michael. The preview was enough. "You're better at calming me down anyway," from Mara. "An hour before? That's risky," from Michael. Then a heart emoji. Another screenshot. Another. My stomach lurched. The unknown number wasn't unknown anymore. It was Tessa's contact card. She was standing in the doorway, watching me read. "I didn't want to ruin your day," she said. "But they already did. I found these last night on her iPad. I told her to tell you. She didn't. I've seen the videos where people go nuclear. I've judged them from a safe distance, thought, don't be messy, be graceful. But sometimes grace is just a word you use because you're afraid to do the right thing loudly." I thumbed through the screenshots, each like a brick added to a wall. Plans to grab coffee that weren't coffee, a drunken "you make me feel alive" from Mara, Michael's "what if he finds out" with a joke about my fantasy football team. The oldest message was 3 months ago. The newest was that morning. 10 minutes from Michael. "Hurry" from Mara. And something inside me clicked into place. I walked to the ballroom. The band was running through "Can't Help Falling in Love," the keyboardist swaying like it was any other Saturday. Guests were seated. My aunt waved at me like I was doing a victory lap. I found the coordinator, a woman named Elise, who handled chaos with a soothing voice and a clipboard like a shield. "Can you do me a favor?" I asked, my own voice steadying in that weird way the body does when it knows you're steering into a storm. "I need the projector up, the one we were going to use for the photo slideshow." She blinked, reading my face, then nodded. "Of course." And then the band leader leaned into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, can we have your attention?" "1 second," I said, taking the mic from him gently. "Sorry, quick change to the schedule." Everyone turned. People love a change to the schedule at a wedding. It promises surprise, a dance, a toast. I looked out at my future in-law's table. Her mother already clutching tissues. Her father stiff-backed with a pride I had once been willing to earn forever. I looked at my parents, whose love for me had been the most reliable thing I knew, until 5 minutes ago, when Tessa became a quiet heroine in a silk dress. "Before anything else," I said, "I wanted to share some photos." The lights dimmed. The projector hummed to life. The first slide came up. Baby pictures of me in an inflatable pool. Laughter. Cute, familiar. A decoy. I let 3 photos play. Then a text thread appeared on the screen, white bubbles and gray bubbles blown up huge across the ballroom wall. A timestamp. A heart. The room didn't make a sound. You could feel it, though. The noise beneath silence. The intake of breath. The river of recognition as names resolved into identities. Someone's fork touched a plate and sounded like a cymbal crash. Mara's name, Mara, glared at us like a brand. Michael's, Michael, like a warning label. "I wanted to do this privately," I said into the hush. "But privacy seems relative today." Mara burst into the ballroom then, hair not quite right, dress fluttering like it had a heartbeat. Michael trailed behind her, pale, jaw tight. They both looked up and saw themselves enlarged. That was the moment I think everyone fell out of the photograph and into the movie with me. "Turn it off," Mara cried. "Turn it off!" I nodded at Elise, and she, bless her, did not. "I loved you," I said, not even loud, but it carried. I was about to vow to love you when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's broken, when it's messy. I'm not perfect. I would have been inconvenient, stubborn, and loyal. Loyal, most of all. And you? I looked at Michael, then back at her. You wanted comfort. You wanted a thrill right before commitment. You wanted the best man. Fitting title. "Daniel," Michael pleaded, "please, let's talk like friends." "Friends don't rehearse lies together," I said. "Friends don't borrow my tux measurements and my future." The murmur began then, the whisper wave moving across tables. The band, God bless them, kept playing something soft, because that's what bands do, unaware that they were now scoring a public autopsy. Mara reached for me. "This is humiliation. You're humiliating me." "You humiliated us," I said. "I'm just refusing to keep the secret." Her mother stood, face thundercloud dark. "Mara, what did you do?" Tessa from the back, voice steady now, said, "What she's been doing for months." And that was that. The projector showed the last image, a photo of me and Michael at a baseball game, arms slung around each other, beer cups raised. It stayed there like a ghost. I put the mic down on the stage, picked up my jacket, and walked out. I didn't run. It wasn't triumph. It was clarity in motion. Outside, the sky had decided on sunshine just to prove it could. I sat on the stone steps of the Laurel and watched a pair of doves argue on the fountain rim. People talk about their lives going viral, how it feels like the world is suddenly eating popcorn watching you. Let me tell you, the world doesn't need your permission. By the time I got to my car, my phone was blooming with notifications. "Are you okay?" from college friends. "What F happened?" from a cousin I barely talked to. 3 missed calls from an unknown number that turned out to be a local blogger who wanted a quote. Someone had uploaded a video of the slideshow to Instagram. It was already captioned, "When the groom exposes the bride and the best man?" I drove to my apartment. the one we were supposed to give up for the bigger place, and stood in the doorway like a man stepping into a museum of a life no one will inhabit. On the fridge, the magnet list still had Book Honeymoon with a check mark. I peeled it off and threw it away. I sat on the floor and let the silence finally be silence. Tessa came by an hour later with a bag of food I didn't eat. She sat cross-legged, her dress pooling around her like sunset. If you hadn't told me, I would have married her. She nodded. I know. Why did you? Because I couldn't watch you build a house on quicksand. She winced. And because I told her last night to confess, and she didn't. I chose you today. I needed you to choose you too. We sat there a long time. I cried a little, which felt like proof I was still alive. At some point, my dad texted that he loved me, no matter what. My mom sent a string of heart emojis, because words can fail, but hearts don't. By evening, 1,000 strangers had opinions about my pain. Some called me a hero, some called me dramatic. People will turn anything into content, especially the things that are breaking you. I turned my phone off. I opened the windows. I let the air in. The narration she has learned in the 24 hours since. Love is not a ceremony. It's not a dress or a speech or a slideshow. Love is choosing someone when it's boring, when it's inconvenient, when no one's applauding. It's what Tessa did for me when she risked being the villain in her best friend's story to be the hero in mine. It's what my parents did when they folded me into a hug without asking for a postmortem. It's what I'll do for myself now. Choose me when it's lonely, when it's quiet, when it'd be easier to forgive just to avoid the sound of my own heartbeat. I didn't get married today. I didn't even get my deposit back. But I got my future back. And that, despite the viral clip and the whispers and the band that kept dutifully playing, feels like the happiest ending this day could have given me.